You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Welcome, listeners, to another episode of All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on BQN and Fandom Podcast Network. I'm your host, Kelvin, and with me today, it's Amy, Mark, and Christos. I've not said that for quite a while. That's a few months in the making. We're back. Amy, I'm not coming to you first. I see you all the time. Christos, my love, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Really, really good. I'm really excited to be back with the bunch. It's been a long time since Christmas, since the last All Good Things.
I know it's been a hot minute. I feel like I haven't had this pleasure of chatting with you on a weekly basis. I've missed it.
And Mark, you're here with a brand new zip code.
I am. Yeah, we did move. Our listeners, if you haven't heard me on Cinema Z, my audio has changed a little bit because I'm no longer in the closet. I've come out and I'm not recording in a walk-in closet anymore. So my audio is a little bit echoey, but I am going to at some point set up a home studio proper, and then I'll sound less like... Oh, I have to censor myself. I'm not on Cinema Z.
I don't think you do. You said what you like. And Amy, hello, love. How are you?
Well, yes, hello. It is good to be back recording All Good Things. Thank you, listeners, for, taking a hiatus with us, but we are back and we've got just some amazing lineups of discussions that we're going to be talking about. And we've got new escape pod because we have new discovery. I'm just so excited to be back.
Yeah, I feel like BQN's has got new energy to it. Not that we didn't have energy, but man, I think we're firing on all cylinders, it feels like.
Yeah.
We got that strange new worlds, that green goo we injected into the network, and now we're all amped, ready to go.
It feels a little bit like it's like the Avengers Assemble. We've all been away working on the other shows on the network.
Yeah.
And now we've come back,
Yeah.
So,
We all had our little... Well, congratulations on View Screen, you guys. It was really, really good. I mean, I got to participate in a few episodes, but even the weeks that I wasn't, I was just watching at home, having a good time, feeling like I'm watching a morning show. Just happened to be all about Star Trek. And with all my friends.
And I want to say about View Screen, you guys had a real injection of some cool guest spots on there that was unexpected, and I thought did really well. You guys picked some cool people to come on and join and participate with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think going and doing live, because now we've got quite a few more shows that are, doing live stream or dropping on YouTube, like What's the T-Bab? And I think that's really energized the network. But yeah, bringing in and picking and curating our guests to come on was just so much fun. And I'm glad you enjoyed them because they're just our friends. That's what, what we thought of, Kelvin and I were thinking of, like, let's just talk with our friends. And we have so many wonderful friends that have amazing skills and knowledge to share. Like, it just was so much fun.
Well, they sounded like naturals. They were great.
Yeah. I think maybe that's what was really cool about it. I don't think you had a guest on that I haven't met in person. So It was really it really was just kind of like catching up with good friends, So
that's lovely to hear.
And we all love Trek, so that's what better thing to bring us together.
And Mark, has there been a little change up at Cinema Z as well while we've been away? Have you brought Davey over as well? Have you, as well as is he a semi-regular host now?
Oh, geez. So with Davey, what is Davey doing with himself? I had this discussion with Amy. I mean, the man, he's everywhere all at once. He does everything. We've been lucky, very lucky to have him on. We have recorded 2 with him so far. He has taken over the role of associate producer, not completely taken over. Amy's still associate producer, but he's joined Amy in the associate producer role as well. So hopefully, like Amy, we can get him to pop on here and there. I do think with his other, I don't know if I'm counting 17 other podcasts that he does. I don't know if he'll be able to come on that often, but we did get 2 in a row, which is great.
He's like the Jonathan Frakes of our network, isn't he? He's just on everything.
Yes.
It's not a BQN show if Davey's not on.
Right. He's like producing
Jeffrey Combs.
episodes here and there.
Oh, yeah.
I was giving him crap just the other day. I'm like, I don't know how you have the energy to keep up with all this and have a job and have a fiance and
planning a wedding and his bargain bin gamer and Trexperts quiz. And remember, he writes those questions. It's unbelievable how much time he has to start a Discord, Let's Fly. He's doing that weekly.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
Yeah.
enough of those other shows. Let's get back to celebrate the return of All Good Things. And now that we've got new discovery, we can get back to our regular format. So let's fire up the escape pod.
This is the bridge. All hands to emergency escape pods.
Escape pod!
Yay!
Escape pod!
And to make things extra special for this comeback, we have a 2-part. Well, it's not really a 2-parter. It's just episodes 1 and 2 for a season opener for Discovery Season 5. We have The Red Directive and Under the Twin Moons. So how do we want to do this? Should we take it one at a time or talk about them in combo? I've not really given it much thought, but who wants to go first?
Well,
Early thoughts.
I watched it. Well, I mean, I watched them both on the same day, and so in my mind, it's hard for me to like separate the episodes. They kind of flow together. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be this season. I think it's going to just flow one episode to another episode. There was a lot that I did like about it. I told Amy there was the visuals. I was really impressed with. I liked that they went to a couple of different, very unique worlds. That one planet reminded me of Tatooine a little bit. There was all the villagers, and they had their little shops and whatnot, and it really felt alive. I thought they did a great job there. But then they went to the jungle, and you got those vibes of that TNG episode with the probe thing. What was it?
Arsenal of Freedom.
Arsenal of Freedom. It was like that, but with a budget. And oh wow, the ancient heads with like the laser beams. I was like, whoa, that's so cool. Anyway, so I thought it was a really cool jump start to the season and got me excited for the adventure that they're going to go on. A little bit archaeology, a little bit Indiana Jones, but Star Trek. I don't know. It was fun.
I'm so excited to ask you this question, Christos, because listeners will know if it isn't your favorite ever TNG episode, it's definitely up there. So when it all came up about the chase, I just screamed at the TV and at James, Christos is going to love this.
Well, yes, it is my favorite episode of TNG, for the record. And I about lost my shit. When that happened. I had a little bit of a warning that it was going to happen. It was a little notification on my phone from Amy. That it was an Amy spoiler. It was me not turning off notifications. But so I kind of knew it was coming, but it didn't. It still made it very sweet. And I've always said this. It was the biggest moment in Trek that never got followed up on. Mm-hmm. So here we are. They're 800 years later. They're following up on it. But better late than never. I mean, I will tell you though, I loved everything about the first 2 hours or whatever of season 5. My favorite moment of the whole two episodes was when Tarina proposed to Saru. I started bawling. She's such a good Vulcan. I love her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that supposed to be it now for Saru? Surely not. Surely we've not just got
no.
The first 2.
I think he's in the whole season.
Right.
So
okay.
He'll come into play some other way.
Amy and I talked about this a little bit too. Okay. Here's my regeneration as far as that's concerned. Discovery always does this. They're like, oh, we're gonna leave. That's it. I have this other side quest, and then they're like there the whole time, and they never go anywhere. How many times have this happened to Discovery? Bye-bye. I'll miss you, tears, tears. But then they're just there, and they never go away. I'm just when they did that, I just sort of groaned. I was like, oh, you know, he's going to be here all season. Like,
Well,
Yeah,
they definitely are going away in 8 episodes time because it's the last one.
yeah. Or they just did that with Book, right? But then at least they aged it out. Like I think they implied that 6 to 8 months passed between the end of season 4 and where we are now. So you can kind of, okay, yes, he was gone all that time, but now we get to come pick it back up.
And he didn't go shopping. He has the same jacket. I mean,
Well, he's technically a prisoner.
I guess, but you know, he got an updated outfit. He's worn the same thing for like 2 seasons now. Anyway,
It's unheard of in modern Star Trek to not change uniforms every 5 minutes.
Right.
So yeah, a bit of book cosplay for anyone. You'll get a lot of use out of that jacket.
I have 3 words. Less is more.
What did you think of the opening, Amy?
Well, I was fortunate enough to see it 3 times within like a 24-hour period because I watched it when I came home from work, came home from subbing, and then I went to a watch party and watched it there. And then the next day, watched it with my roommate. So I got to see it a lot really quick, which I really enjoyed. So that was really fun. But I really loved these 2 episodes. And I'm trying to think, then I recently did a rewatch of the seasons, well, except for season 4. And so I can remember the beginnings. And I'm like, I think this is the strongest beginning. I feel the most hopeful, even though I was pretty hopeful, like when they did the red signals, the beginning of season 2. And I'm like, all right, we're going to go to each planet. It will be its episode and we will follow this and find the red signals. And then it just destroyed and collapsed on itself. So I go in with much trepidation of what is Discovery going to give to me this season. I just feel so hopeful, but it is with reservations because I know I will probably be destroyed once they get back to their big long story arc.
I got the sense that these kind of jigsaw pieces of the puzzle, there will be almost a standalone episode of finding that piece of the puzzle. And that will.
I know
get
you
us
want
through.
to have
So-
that hope, but you
Yeah.
can't.
So my one little like if I'm gonna nitpick it there, when they asked Zora to replicate a physical version of the symbol, Zora replicated the perfect size to fit the piece before
Right.
they knew it was supposed to be. Before there was any idea that that was actually going to fit in there, it was the
Right.
perfectly replicated size. And my only other sort of from a production value type of thing is when after the whole motorcycle sand dune escape and they're racing or trying to get away from the rock slide, you have that moment where Rayner and Book and Burnham are on their cycles and they're kind of talking. The AR wall looked really fake. That was the one point I was like, this I'm seeing, it doesn't feel real. Other than that, everything else felt real. You get that planet with the Mark was talking about, I call it the Indiana Jones planet, Arsenal Freedom Planet. That was all believable. I was right there. But that one scene, it almost looked green screeny to me, and that was a little cringy. But otherwise, that's all I got for nitpicking. We're doing good.
And Kelvin, what about you?
I really, really liked it. And a little bit like what you've just said, Amy, about the strong openings for the seasons. I mean, cover your ears, you're not going to like this, but the start of season 4, I was really optimistic for. I thought season 4, episode 1 with the butterfly people and the Tilly rescuing people on the station was really high active. And then boom, episode 2, morbid, really sad. And now, so at least there's been 2 episodes that have been high energy, very similar format, very light almost in tone, and the adventure, the heroism. So I'm very hopeful. But again, it's that I can just see it happening. I think it's going to be a sensational season and then everybody's going to be up in arms that it's finished. Like Enterprise,
I've said
oh,
that.
they've done an Enterprise. It only got good at the end, and then it got cancelled. So we're kind of doomed either way. We either get a
Yeah.
rubbish, wet, damp squib of a final season, or we get an amazing one, and then we all grieve Discovery.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts on that. First off, the episodes are brighter. I mean, the production, they're brighter. They're, so hey, especially after we just watched what will be our topic for today, like, oh, what a difference in just color palette. They have said that every episode this season is supposed to feel like a little mini adventure. So I'm optimistic to what you say, Kelvin, that's going to continue. And I'm also like, they've had all of this in the can when they chose to cancel Discovery. So if they hadn't watched these episodes and said, this was a great season, this is going to, I don't know, like the decisions to cancel it, like they had the benefit of having this whole season and probably having seen most of it, or I don't know how long it's been, all the special effects have been finished, but it seems like it's been a while. I don't know. I could have.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I think I like what you said, Kelvin. It's going to be like an Enterprise where it's like, hey, season 4 was your best and you canceled it.
Yeah, I feel like very hopeful again. And I feel that it's finally the characters are blending. I feel like it's TNG season 3. Like they're finally going. We had a rough start because those first 4 seasons, it was rough. And I feel so like this is going to be the best season, just like you were saying, Kelvin. And then it's our last. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. I am loving all the callbacks to Picard and TNG, like these Easter eggs. Like we've always had them, but it seemed like we had to fish for them. And here they're just like, this is a callback to the 24th century Romulans. Here it is. We get the beautiful visuals and that see Picard again. Like I'm loving that because I love it when they do in Lower Decks. I love it, every time. And I feel like they're getting it right finally with the correct way to do callbacks for me.
Yeah. Although, okay, so I love the callbacks. And then it's like you kind of get into this big thing of like, okay, they're all carrying recorders in their comm badges in TNG era. Of course, we're just basically watching episodes. But for Burnham, this is now the second time that Jean-Luc Picard has come up to her in a callback. She's like, who is this guy from 800 years ago? First he was hanging out with Spock, and now he's, was there for the, I would have loved that they would have shown a picture of Jean-Luc and Beverly from that episode in that scene at the end. Just a little selfishly me, we had to show Jean-Luc. We could have showed Beverly too, come on.
I mean, Discovery has like what they did with Commander Nhan. They just randomly brought a species from the Price and made brought the Barzons back. And so I'm thinking this new kind of first officer captain, whatever he is a very random species from Deep Space Nine. And I'm like, is that going to be part of the story, or is it just we'll name drop that species again?
He just doesn't have the bad wig.
Yeah, like with the little top knot thing.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. Go back and watch the scenes with the Federation 1000 party. There are some unique alien callbacks in that scene, especially from early TNG.
Good stuff. Any more we want to say on the start of Discovery? I will end the escape pod by saying welcome back, Discovery. It's been a long time coming. I very much enjoyed, and I'm optimistic for the next 8 weeks. Anyone want to say anything more on that, Christos?
I will just give a little plug. I will echo what you just said. And if you'd like to hear me and my guest Jeff Folk could do a little bit more time spent doing a deep dive on the first 2 episodes, catch this week's episode of What's the T-Bev, where we'll really get into it a little bit more detailed.
Well, I guess if we're plugging, we should really plug our Patreon exclusive for the Hive Mind as well, and for Let's Fly, which is the weekly Discovery episode review. So if you're interested in hearing more, there'll be more details at the end of the show for how you can get involved there. Right, okay. We're 20 minutes in. Shall we get on to today's topic? So we decided this is the return of All Good Things after a short hiatus and the return of Discovery after a rather long hiatus. And we just feel we want to kind of celebrate Discovery a little bit, obviously with the news that it is the end of the series after this season. So for the next few weeks, we are going to be talking all things Discovery, and since we're talking about the end of Discovery, so to speak, we thought it might be quite poetic to lament a little bit and reflect on the start of Discovery. So we are continuing with our Taking It From the Top series, and we are going to be chatting about the Vulcan Hello and the Battle at the Binary Stars. Now then, I must point out, Mark, Christos, I've never been on this series before, and I just want to point out the comedy of having a podcast with three gay men on it, and we've got a series called Taking It From the Top. Has this never resonated before, or is this completely intentional?
Okay, Amy came up with that name. Just throwing it out there. It wasn't even one of us. Amy named the series. So
Amy's a dom. Amy's a dom top.
You're in marketing. Did you think this was a stroke of genius, or did this get by you?
He said
I just
stroke.
know. It didn't get by me one bit. It didn't get by me one bit. I just let it happen. I was like, yeah, sure. Great name.
Well,
it's only brought up now, though, Kelvin.
Right. Well, we've covered most of.
Is the next series going to be called "Giving It to the Bottoms"?
Yeah. Well, you can.
Hey, we're just going to finish off all of the last episodes of all the shows.
Yes, we will. That is in the works, but I don't think that's going to be the title of our series.
It should be.
So previously covered, I mean, let's do it. We've done Encounter at Farpoint, Emissary, Caretaker, Broken Bow, Remembrance. What's Lower Decks? No Small Parts? Is that Lower Decks? I didn't list them in the outline. But yeah, this Discovery was actually the next logical, pardon the pun, outing for this series. So in this series, we are going to start off by exploring the premise of this being a premiere episode for a brand new series. So shall we start with the premise of the show?
Okay, I went thinking about this Vulcan Hello and Battle of the Binary Stars, like the level of excitement that we've got Star Trek coming back to TV cannot be understated. So when you think about the premise, you still have to remember all the hype that is coming in. We're finally getting a female black cap. Well, not really a captain, but lead. And we're going to follow her through. We were told that it's going to be long form storytelling, but I don't think anyone understood what that meant or what they were talking about. And so I guess the premise, I guess, was then set up to be before Kirk, but after Enterprise Archer. So we're in this in between, which was exciting, but a lot of people had hesitation because you feel very boxed in with as far as canon goes. We were definitely told this is going to be a dramatic storytelling. What else about the premise did we know?
I think I remember when they started doing the character announcements, when they were doing the, this is the actors that are going to be on the show. And I found it really controversial and even confusing when they introduced the concept of the Shenzhou and Discovery and Captain Lorca and Captain Giorgio. And I was like, who are all of these? Why have we got so many ships, so many captains? Who's in charge? What's going on?
I feel like there was meant to be this huge misdirect, right? And like some of these people who were announced as series regulars, like Sam Varsolamos, he gets killed in the first two episodes and makes a brief return in the Mirror universe. But, I think there was this idea of you think you know what you're going to get, and ha ha ha. Because we've said this before about Disco, it's kind of like there's two pilots. These two episodes that we're talking about today are a little bit of a prologue. It is a prologue. And then you could argue that season 3 is the true pilot to Discovery.
Interesting.
What did you think of the almost like the build up and the anticipation of Discovery, Mark?
Yeah, it was strange that the ship Discovery wasn't actually featured in the premiere episode. It wasn't featured in episode 2 either, was it? It was mostly episode 3. And it was the same with a lot of the cast, a lot of the people that we meet in the first couple. They're not there for the long haul. So this was a really unique way to go about it. I'm not sure if it was the best. I guess we'll leave that up to history to decide. For myself, I don't know. There were things to like about it, like the cinematic nature of the show. I was blown away by the visuals, Battle for the Binary Stars, stuff like that. It was where they started out on that planet that was the desert planet, and they actually filmed on location in Jordan, right? I believe, right? I think so. Big money they spent on the premiere, and it paid off. It really set up like, wow, this is what they're doing with Star Trek. And I remember seeing it and getting really stoked. So on that aspect, kudos to them. But as far as like setting up what the show would be, I don't know how well it did. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
it didn't
just
because-
remember it.
Sorry.
I just remember the anticipation and the buildup was huge. I remember having a premiere party at my house, and we had to take the furniture out of the coffee table and stuff out of the living room because like 17 gay men showed up to watch Star Trek Discovery premiere, the two-parter, and it was everybody was so excited that Star Trek was back. And I remember moments like when Burnham, does the Vulcan neck pinch on Giorgio. People are like, "What?" Like this is like edgy Star Trek. It's different, and we were excited, and we were here for it.
Yeah, I mean, all we had is the Kelvin movies in that time frame, so we were used to the big budget modern cinematography, but to actually transpose that onto TV, I don't think anyone expected it to look so beautiful. And there was a few false starts with Discovery. It was put back a few times and it was delayed. There was a lot going on behind the scenes, which we'll probably talk about in a later episode. But yeah, even reflecting on the characters, what I found interesting about Discovery, and this is still the case, is they don't necessarily name all of the main cast in every episode. They only give credits if you're in that episode, which again was completely new. You would get all of the Deep Space Nine, all of the Voyager actors listed, regardless of if they appeared. So sometimes it was a bit of a spoiler, if it would say, and trying to think of someone who was only in it every now and then. It would be a little bit of a spoiler in itself in the theme tune, but that concept was new. And we didn't get to see so many of the main cast in these two episodes. We only really got Burnham and Saru. Obviously, we got Giorgio, we got Laurel. You could argue we got Detmer as well. But, Stamets, Culber, Tilly, Tyler, not present in this rewatch.
Yeah.
So very strange way to start a new series, making you wait to meet the actors.
Yeah, I guess you could say Vogue Tyler. So, and that was a whole weird thing with the try and misdirect us by using a different name, than Shazad Latif, but use his father's name to try and misdirect that Vogue is Ash Tyler. So that was pretty weird and unique for a premiere as well.
Yeah. So I loved the use of Detmer in this episode because you get to see her quote unquote uninjured, and when we could pick her back up in episode 3, somewhere along the line she had been in battle and gotten injured and had her prosthetic or whatever on. So it adds to the why people are mad at why are people mad at Michael Burnham, so otherwise you don't really even catch that, with okay, she's just the helmsman, but it's a little bit more impactful when you see her again.
Yeah, it didn't take as long when Discovery started for us to realize it was a much darker show than we've had before. I don't think we were promised that much in the lead up. It just was something that was very apparent straight away. So what did we think of, the gore, the bad language? Did it jar on you, or were you not bothered? Did you think it was a welcome addition? What did you think, Amy?
Yeah, the gore and like how visual, like they were fighting with on the Klingon ship, Giorgio, and which one was that? Was that Takuvma? Yeah.
Takuvma.
Yeah, Takuvma. And I loved all that choreography, but man, it was really dark. And what you saw, like the knives coming in and impaling, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. And it was so much darker and continues to get darker, especially as we move past these two episodes. I didn't know that they were going to take it that far.
Yeah.
The tone of the show, of course, being darker, and then the actual shooting and production of the show being darker, they really leaned into that. I was having just rewatched to prepare for this. I found myself questioning, why is this tribunal scene so dark? Like literally dark lit. Why would that? Why would you? That would be in some big bright, room. Yet they were choosing to do stuff like that. And I feel like maybe if they had done a little bit of balance to the show, there, like, hey, this scene does not need to be dark, but the next scene, I get why it's dark.
The tribunal scene kind of reminded me of oh geez, one of the TOS movies. I forget which one it was.
Undiscovered
when Kirk.
Undiscovered
Country.
Undiscovered Country. There we go. Because Kirk and is it Kirk and Bones?
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah, they're standing there, and it's just this black room with the spotlight shining on them, and it kind of reminded me of that. So there is a little bit of that has happened in Trek in the past, but it doesn't happen too often. And in Christos, I agree with you. It was like, was that necessary?
I mean, with your Cinema Z hat on, Mark, is it a literal kind of director's choice to make the appearance dark to reflect the darker tone of the show, or is that too obvious to do it that way?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think that it is, probably up to the director to make calls like that and say, hey, like this is kind of the tone I'm going for this episode, so I want this kind of shot, and let's storyboard it like this. I'm not sure if the director of the first couple episodes was given like carte blanche on what to do or not, because if you listen to Kate Mulgrew talked about Voyager in the first season and all of the network participation in that. I'm not sure. We'd have to talk to the director, but I know that like in the past, especially if they're launching a series, there's a lot more sort of network executives having control of what it's going to look like.
So that's kind of our thoughts on the start of Discovery. There was, in the days we live, we've got full social media coverage by 2017. Moving on to how Discovery was received by the fans. Obviously, we're all grateful that Star Trek had come back. But because of the change, there was a lot of very polarized decisions. I've just listed a couple of the kind of bullet points of what the kind of things people were saying. I mean, starting off with a very kind of broad stroke of it was very much a departure from Gene's vision, crews at each other's throats, the darkness of it. Yeah, quite literally sometimes. But I think moving on to something that was incredibly initially talked about was the redesign of the Klingons, wow, that had some people taking to their keyboards as becoming keyboard warriors, as a Klingon term. What did you think of it? It didn't bother me. I've never been bothered by rechanging. I have preferences, but it doesn't bother me as in, oh, you've ruined canon. What did you think, Christos?
Well, I think hindsight's always 2020, right? I remember personally not being bothered by it. I remember thinking, good, Star Trek needed to evolve. It needed to become a little more edgy. It needed to adapt to the 2017 environment. And we weren't in the Berman era anymore, quite literally, even just in the way TV was being done. And it needed to try to bring in a new audience. Now, like I said, being 2020, a couple things that had they done a little differently, like not dramatically redesigning Klingons and a few things, few minor things like that, it probably would have been much better received by the fan base while still being able to bring in new fans. But I didn't remember like thinking for the most part, this is great. This is edgy. It's action packed. It looks amazing. It's cinematic. It's an enthralling storyline that keeps me wanting to come back every week. So I was mostly good with everything for the most part. But yes, 2020, there's a few things they could have done a little bit better and that they did soften in later seasons. But, you know.
Yeah. When Amy, Mark, were either of you really disliking the new look Klingons?
Oh, they weren't Klingons to me from the get-go. I was like, I don't know what those aliens are, but they're not Klingons. I mean, even some of the choices they made with the 2009 sort of reboot, they still looked Klingon enough. But here, I was like, what in the world is that new alien species that's definitely not Klingon? And then the ships too. It's like the ships didn't make sense if you're, familiar with TOS or familiar with Enterprise.
They weren't green.
Yeah, I don't know. There was things that they could have done, and I think they learned those lessons hard those first couple of seasons, so that later on with Discovery, and then again with even Picard, it's like they took some of these aliens and some of these sets and some of these things and just elevated it, but they didn't completely, change the whole thing. So yeah, it was a hard lesson, I think, that they learned pretty fast because it was a big backlash.
Yeah, Kelvin, you have listed a lot of hot buttons and hot topic at the time. Departing from Gene's vision of having your main character go against what the captain has ordered, that they're fighting, Saru and Burnham like this brother, back at each other. And like, that was so huge. This is not my Star Trek, right? We heard that so many times.
Yeah.
And the redesign of the Klingons, my goodness gracious, you could not throw a stone without hitting someone who hated the Klingons. And like, well, in part because if it is supposed to be in between, just a little bit before TOS, like maybe show the ridges forming and getting to TNG Klingons. But this was like a redesign beyond what you would imagine the 24th century Klingons. That was just so much more. And I was like, all right, they're changing it. What else are you going to do? They're telling me they're Klingons. You have to do this in your head canon. So it wasn't a big deal to me because I'm like, whatever. But also seeing the Culber and Stamets, right? And then it was like, what? This was a huge topic again. It's too woke. They're just shoving it in our face. What?
Yeah.
This hit couple? That was everywhere as well. And I, of course, was like, well, it's about damn time. And it's not in your face. This is just how it is.
Did anybody say it was in your face? Was Stamets and Culber?
Yeah.
It was so subtle.
Oh, yes.
I don't think it was in your face at all. Did they even hold hands at all?
Well, that's because
they were
you're
brushing
a
their
rational
teeth.
human being.
Oh my God, they brushed their teeth together. Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah, no, those were hot topics that you just couldn't get away from talking about because there was so much chatter on social media
Yeah.
about it.
I wanted them to rub some of
Wow.
the decontamination gel from Enterprise on each other. Now that would have upset some people, but didn't happen. Didn't happen.
Yeah, I am. Remember to the point that people thought it was so radically different that it was like, oh, this isn't the same timeline. This isn't canon. This is
Yes.
alternate. This is a
Yep.
whole. This is like
Yep.
Kelvin timeline 2.0, and
Yeah.
Yep.
that was. And there are still some people that say that, but I think now that we've started to see Burnham pulling up pictures of Jean-Luc Picard, it's kind of stopped that. Okay, no, this is all the same timeline. But I'll bring back the Klingon one more discussion. You have to remind people is like, hey, how the Klingons looked in the 1960s Star Trek and how they looked in the motion picture, and then even more so in when they were really kind of set in Star Trek 3, which kind of defined their look through the Berman era. We've changed Klingons again, and we even changed Klingons in the Kelvin movies, and they looked different. We barely see them, and I think Into Darkness, but they're there, and they don't look like Worf. But so evolving Klingon makeup production choices is Star Trek's been messing with that since 1979.
Yeah. And I think one of them, before we go on to our next major topic here, it still goes on, but one of the things people really objected to was, it becoming the Michael Burnham show. And so not only the change in focus of having the central character, not the captain yet, but this kind of the universe seems to wrap around Michael Burnham, and she has to be the person who saves the day constantly. I'm thinking now of a lot of the posts that Ria Papagiorgio puts out online. If you've not read them, go and read them. They're very entertaining. She has strong views on this subject. But Mark, I seem to remember you had a little bit of an issue with the Michael Burnham show. Am I remembering some of that correctly?
Oh, for sure. No, I don't know. When I watch Star Trek, I love that it's an ensemble. I love that it's part of a team. You think about TNG and you think about, okay, there's the one-off Beverly episode, there's the one-off Worf episode, the Geordi episode, and you get to have some of your favorite characters shine and share the spotlight, and then you see why they're all put in that position on the flagship, ship. And it would have been nice to see that on Discovery. Why were all these people chosen for Discovery? Okay, let's go through this week. We're going to talk about this person. This one. Whenever they do that, they would kill off like poor Ariam. Like she had her episode, but then bye Ariam. They get you to care, get you to feel for her, and then bye bye.
Yeah.
So that kind of annoyed me. I would have loved to see more of that crew. We're on season 5 now, and I've given up that we're going to actually get to know these people aside from Michael Burnham. And that's it.
I thought that even now in season 5, where Saru's off, so she needs a new first officer. Not one moment were any of the rest of that crew considered for the job. They brought in the brand new guy just above them all, and it's almost one final insult to our. It's like the gold jackets are now the new red shirts. They're the ones that are shit all over in Discovery a little bit.
Ooh, yeah.
Well, yeah, even with the 2 episodes that we just saw, like Burnham's like, "Oh, whoa, and Reese, come with me." And then they're instantly shot and put into this bubble where they can't move. And it's like, why even bring him if it's just going to be you? Like, "Oh, I'll go down and take care of him because that's what's going to happen." It was ridiculous again,
Yeah.
in your face. This is not an ensemble show.
Yeah. That was only a plot device to show that our season 5 villains aren't quite villains and they're not going to kill indiscriminately to, doing their thing. But to your point, Amy, yes, they could have done more, or you could have sidelined them in a better way where they had more to do. I get that the seasons are shorter in Discovery, and maybe you don't have these with 26 episodes. You have time for a Data episode or a Geordi episode or a Beverly episode, and we don't quite get that in Disco. But yeah, I
They got
still
it in
don't
Strange
know
New
everybody's
Worlds.
name.
Mhm.
Yeah, I still don't know everybody's name though. I mean, and to the point where I'm very comfortable pronouncing them. And oh yeah, I mean, I know Detmer. That's about it. Because everyone's just kind of there one episode, they're gone the next, and and you have whole episodes where the side crew of Discovery isn't even in it. Like when you only have a 10 episode season or 12 or whatever, and Burnham, like season 3, episode 1, Burnham's the only cast member in that episode. Everybody else is, or you're like, you can't afford to do that when you are only having so many few episodes to like sideline the whole cast. I don't know. I that is to this day, I still don't like that. am not as comfortable with knowing who everybody is and knowing more about them.
I mean, with the tone of the show, and we've got all these series now, and they're all so different, it is just something that is unique to Discovery. It was a choice that was made. It's not something they've tried to do and do it badly. They've purposely decided these are going to be secondary characters, almost glorified extras, in my opinion. It's a choice that they made, and rightly or wrongly, it's something that makes Discovery unique. Moving into Michael Burnham as a little subject in her own right, one of the things you hear now as we're in season 5 is the arc of Discovery has been the journey to the chair, they call it, for Michael Burnham. And there's a lot of talk that it was always intended to be this case, which I don't really believe. I do think they kind of make the seasons up as they go. I think it just suited the mood. I don't think they started Discovery saying, let's make it 3 or 4 seasons before the captain becomes the captain. So, I mean, I've just listed a few points around Michael Burnham, going from, a Vulcan orphan, raised, a secret family member of Spock that was retconned and we never knew about, to convict, to science officer, to time traveler. What do we think of Burnham's arc? Because it when you look at the Vulcan Hello, it's almost a completely different person. That kind of a little bit logical and a bit Vulcanish because of the upbringing. I mean, that is completely gone now. There's no trace of Vulcan in Burnham in season 5. So, do you like the evolution of Burnham as a character? What do you think, Amy?
I think, well, hold on. I think that
Sorry, Mark.
Burnham has so much range that it makes me want to cry. That's all.
In what way? Are we talking happy tears, Mark?
No, Michael Burnham. It's like all of humanity, all of the best of humanity squished into one human being, and it's like all of our crew of TNG squished into one human being. There's nothing that Michael Burnham can't do, and I don't know. It just doesn't sit right with me. I don't find her relatable as a character. Now, the actress, amazing. We couldn't have asked for better. We're so glad Sonequa is part of the Trek family, and hope to see her as part of the family for years, even after the show. But I think they did her dirty with a character, because I don't think they had too much of, let's throw this at her, let's throw that at her, she can be this too, oh, she can do this. And they piled so much on her, they gave her the character so much weight that it crushed the believability. Yeah, literally. No, the weight of all sentient life in all things of all time in space ever. All of that's all on her shoulders. And it wasn't fair for the character. It wasn't fair for the actress. And I just wish that they would have, I don't know, had approached her more thoughtfully. That's my opinion.
Well, when you do an overview like you just did, Kelvin, for Burnham, I hadn't really even thought about it. And this is the longest we've seen someone not be a captain. And to have them go through all of these struggles and, overcoming multiple times where she's like, I don't know if I fit in. We saw that in season 3 when she was warped, and season 4. And now even, now where it's like, well, Saru had questioned if she was even going to be right to be his first officer, much less a captain. So seeing that arc is pretty impressive. And then I'm thinking, okay, so what are we learning about her arc to be this captain? And it's interesting because she was telling Tilly how to become a captain. And now Tilly's off being a teacher. Like, you find your passion in the journey. And I think her journey, like, she's finding, yes, I really do love Starfleet, and being a captain, I can make this is where I'm belonging. So it's very interesting to see that arc.
Yeah, I think it's jarring when you go back and watch episode 1 after you just watched the most current episode of Discovery, the premiere of 5, to see just how much the character has changed. I was a little taken aback, actually. Like, whoa, she really used to play Burnham a lot different. And you see the journey aspects of it. And I think some of Giorgio's words of devulcanizing her, taking her out of her shell, I thought I could do it. And you're like, oh, well, that's her journey. She's like this traumatized child who was like, as a survival skill, taught to basically discard emotion and be Vulcan. And now she's a young adult or whatever you want to, or should, I don't know, she's probably in her late 20s by the beginning of Discovery season 1. So then to watch who she is now and watch that evolution and watch her deal with her trauma and her mom coming back and uh, she does change. I think you can say a lot happened that year she was with Book and completely not Starfleet. And, she really, the character, that set up a good long period to explain the character changing. But it's a lot. And they do a pretty good job of, hey, she went to, we know we haven't heard of Burnham because everything got classified at the end of season 2 and things like that. They really try to write it, and it does make sense. The part that I hate, two things, is Burnham Jesus stuff, where everything is her. This is exactly why there was detriment to the supporting cast, because all these things that Burnham did herself was not done by the rest of the cast, right down to, I guess, this idea that the captain doesn't beam down on dangerous missions anymore is out the window, because that's all Burnham does as captain of Discovery, is be the one to beam down. And she's always the one about to die in that
Yeah.
stake, versus, like, that's why we had Riker and TNG. So
I
that
think
was
President
missing a lot.
Rillick tried to
There you
stop her, didn't she, from taking and she was like, no, I'm not having that. It's almost like we've been spoiled by too much backstory on the captain. If you just think of Burnham as the captain, we've had all of this, what came before. Think of Voyager, think of Next Gen, Picard strolls out onto the bridge, I'm the captain. That's it. He's in charge. Janeway's in charge. But with Burnham, it's almost throwaway backstory. Like, they've changed their mind, or we don't need to worry about that anymore. That was very season 1. That was very season 2. But so it doesn't continue throughout. I love the character that we've arrived at, with the humor that she uses and the language that she uses as well, and the leadership skills. I would have loved that Burnham to walk out in the Vulcan Hello and been the captain. I mean, obviously would have lost the Giorgio side of things, but it's a shame. It's a shame that we only get our Captain Burnham, who is a lot more like the beloved Sonequa that we have now, for just such a short time.
I want to just tack on, I think, what I was saying earlier, and I feel like in order to make it work with the Captain Burnham that we arrived at, I think what might have helped is if we spent more time developing, like if the arcs weren't so short, right? So we're introduced to her as second in command. Okay, cool. Let's spend a season with her as second in command, right? Let's see her go through the trials and tribulations as second in command. Then let's see, another aspect of her with season 2, still second in command or whatever, and then we'll see that growth gradually until she, ends up getting captain. But it just seemed like, bam, she's this, bam, she's that. Oh, she's over here. Oh, she's over there. Oh, she's criminal. No, she's back on the ship. No, she's, they didn't spend any time with her, embodying what she's supposed to be learning through these experiences. It was just too quick for her to learn any real lessons from any of these experiences. I don't know. That's my take.
Shall we, has anyone got any more to say about Burnham before we head over and look at some trivia? Are we okay to do that? Go on, Christos.
I'm just going to say one baby thing. After watching this two-parter, how I didn't get a series of Captain Giorgio. Michelle Yeoh is just so good as Captain. Not even like Empress Giorgio, but as a captain, I guess we had to see her die, and that was supposed to really hurt us. But yeah, I could have been okay with that series. Not that I don't like, Sonequa Martin Green, but like that was such a good portrayal of a captain. I loved it.
Yeah.
Imagine if she died at the end of season 1. Like, we got to spend that whole time with her. It would have really been a gut punch.
Mm-hmm.
Really, agreed. So over to trivia. We've talked about Discovery being so groundbreaking and different. A lot of the trivia here represents the first time in Trek something has happened. So I'll start off here. This was the first series premiere not to be adapted into a novel, novella, or a short story. I had to ask James what a novella was because I didn't know. Apparently, it's halfway between a novel and a short story. Thank you, James. But yeah, it was the first time they didn't novelize the premiere. So I think that's quite telling in itself, isn't it?
Yes.
Christos?
Another first was with episode 2 airing on CBS All Access. It was the first time in TV history that a two-parter show opener was transmitted on different networks. And that's a little half true. You could have watched both parts on CBS All Access, but they did premiere it on CBS. I will tell you that was a disaster for people who were watching on premiere day. If everyone remembers, it was freezing and cutting because the demand was overwhelmingly more than what they anticipated, which I guess is a good thing, but it did make for viewing hardship on day 1.
Bit of buffer time.
Yes, I
Buffer time.
remember that too. Oh my gosh. So another first is that we get depicted a female captain and a female first officer on the same ship.
Do you know, when I wrote that, I thought, really? And I had to really go back through the memory, through the Rolodex, and I thought, yeah, that's right. We've had lots of female captains, lots of female first officers, but together, the main ship on the main show. Yeah, absolutely.
I guess we didn't know, as you were saying, I was sort of going through like, what are some of the one-off female captains? What was Geordie's mom's? Do we know her first officer?
No.
Of the Hera? Okay.
No.
Because I'm like, maybe that one. Because all right. We don't have to go through them all. I just
The Vulcan Learning Center was depicted as it was in the Kelvin timeline, marking a first time that a prime timeline copied something established in the alternate reality movies.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it can't, not really. You can't, it has to be a first because you can't have anything before the Kelvin movies copy the Kelvin movies because it didn't exist. So it's a bit temporal anomaly, that fact. But it is true that prime show took it.
Yeah, that was so exciting to see because I love the Kelvin timeline movies. I was like, oh my gosh, I loved it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and the minute you saw it on screen, you knew what it was.
Yeah,
so it's like, oh, I know what's going on here.
Yeah.
Another first that we see on screen is that the bridge of the Shenzhou was the underside of the saucer, not on deck 1. And I really dug that. I thought it was a really cool way to see things. So, but it was, first time we saw that.
I've heard some people on other shows comment that from a tactical perspective, it almost protects the bridge a little bit more by tucking it underneath there. So we're surprised we've not seen it more often. But yeah, it was cool. I'm going to take this next one because it's quite special for me. Now, I'm already blessed that they named an entire timeline after me in Star Trek. But when this show opened and Burnham did her, well, it wasn't Captain's log, was it? Just her personal log. And she said, it's May the 11th, 22:56, and a Sunday. Not only was it actually really a Sunday, someone had gone through the calendar to 22:56 and seen that May 11th was a Sunday, but it's my birthday. So I felt really happy that the premiere of Star Trek Discovery took place on my birthday. I won't tell you how old I'd be. Just another little kind of personal thing to me, and I love that.
Wow. We're so honored to be podcasting with the famous Kelvin.
Infamous.
Yes.
By then, you'll be in your golem body and you'll still look fabulous.
Oh, my upgraded body.
Well, I'll take this one because I had mentioned it before with the big subterfuge. Vogue is credited as being played by Javid Iqbal, which is a fake name to protect the mystery of him who also is playing Tyler and by the actor Shazad Latif. And that did not go over well. We all figured it out.
I remember they made a Twitter profile for Naveed Iqbal. Everyone was like, who is this person? Everyone was on like IMDb trying to research him, and it didn't take long. I think there's no such person.
Sarek mentions that first contact between Vulcans and Klingons was in, is it Hiroshima system?
Hatoria.
Hatoria? There we go. Throwback to the Hatoria system. A callback to Worf being governor of Hatoria in All Good Things. That's really cool.
So a little Easter egg, which is a nice way to end the trivia as a namesake to our show here, linking it back to All Good Things.
Oh.
So, final thoughts on the Vulcan Hello and Battle at the Binary Stars. How did it rate as a series opener in comparison to some of the others? Who wants to start us off?
I'll go. I think this was a very good series premiere. We got to know sort of the premise of this show. We definitely see that it's darker. It's going to be serialized. So we only see a little bit. And I like the fact that it, as Christos mentioned, like more of a prologue. So it's almost like you were saying, we've got two premieres, because context is king, as we're actually introduced to our discovery, which is its namesake. So, but those first two episodes really got me questioning. I was very curious. I was hoping for this great story, which we get good stories and we get some not good stories. That's another episode to debate that. But I thought that they did well in bringing me in and wanting more, and that's what you want in a premiere.
Definitely think of it as a premiere prologue movie that is setting the lay of the land, telling us about where the Star Trek universe is here, and obviously giving us the context of how the Klingon War starts. I do feel like this, if you weren't trying to fool the audience, you would have called this a prologue movie. And then episode 3 is your premiere of Discovery. To Amy's point, we don't even see the ship Discovery or even hear its name until episode 3. So I do think it's strong, it's enjoyable, it's action-packed, it's cinematic. It definitely sets you up for this universe and makes you want more.
Yeah. Mark?
I think the gravity has been turned off and we're all sort of floating in space. With the premiere, it really was very different and flipped sort of Trek on its head. And it was exciting and interesting and did want you to watch more. So for that, it was definitely a success. As far as, again, if I'm just talking about premiere episodes and how they do a good job setting up what the series will be, I don't think it did that. But we're in season 5 and they're still trying to figure out what show they're going to be. So there's that. But yeah, speaking of this introduction, it did get me to want to watch more. It did flip the genre on its head, and it was really cool. I think they did a really good job as far as that's concerned, getting us enticed for more.
Yeah, agreed. I think they did a good job of making it exciting, setting up a lot of threads, and just demonstrating what new Star Trek looks like. So I often watch these 2 episodes if I'm in the mood for a movie. If I'm, if I don't want to watch First Contact or Undiscovered Country again, I will sometimes watch this as a movie rather than if I end up watching Emissary or Caretaker, I suddenly find myself on a massive rewatch of all of Voyager or all of DS9. I find this is it can be watched quite standalone, which is great. So I thought it was a great comeback. It was a wonderful return to Star Trek on the screen. And as we've said, and as everybody said, we just have so much to be grateful for, don't we? That this brought in the second golden age of Star Trek, which led to everything that came after, which we enjoy so much now.
What else can you listen to on the BQN? Replicate yourself a mug of hot chocolate and join Amy, Mark, Christos, and Kelvin as they discuss everything and anything in the Star Trek universe on All Good Things. Boost yourself with an energy drink and join Davey on YouTube and Twitch for reviews and live streams of classic, cheap, and sometimes more recent video games on Bargain Bin Gamer. Brew yourself a pot of coffee and join Jeremiah to discuss Star Trek Voyager on The Captain's Couch. Mix your favorite cocktail and join Mark and Matt at Cinema Z to discuss the films you probably missed but should definitely check out. Pour a cup of tea, Earl Grey, hot, and listen to Stephen and Keith as they discuss the next generation of Trek on Galaxy Class. Get yourself something caffeinated and learn an interesting bit of history with Chrissie and Jason on History with the Szilagys. Have a bowl of Flomeek soup and join Thad and Chrissie and a guest to discuss new episodes of Star Trek as they are released on Infinite Diversity. Have something to sharpen your mind and put your Trek knowledge to the test with the Treksperts quiz. Take a bite out of something that didn't seem edible and join Kyle, Kevin, Amy, and Haley covering all things in NuTrek, including that show that is Trek in all but name, The Orville, on Union Federation. Get your Sunday brunch ready for The View Screen, a live weekly talk show hosted by Kelvin and Amy with featured guests talking about all things Trek. Pour a glass of wine and spill some tea with Christos, where he discusses current Trek news and events and explores the world of fandom via guest interviews, all with an LGBTQIA+ perspective on What's the Tea, Bev? And Patreon members get to pass around that green bottle of Aldebaran whiskey once a month on the round table, and they can listen to It's Green with Mark White and Amy's Math Moments.
Amy, so as we said, we are going to be talking about Star Trek Discovery for the next few weeks. We've talked about the start of Discovery and welcome back. Where are we going next week?
Well, we are going to continue our Kobayashi Maru series by giving a lovely tribute to Kenneth Mitchell, who played 4 roles in Discovery. Yeah, very excited to do some research. We've had a lot of personal stories that we're going to share. You'll definitely want to listen to that. We've got some good things coming up for that.
Good stuff. We would love to hear what you thought of today's episode, and we hope that you'll join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective, to continue our discussion there. You can also reach us at allgoodpod on Twitter and Bluesky. Please make sure you follow the network on Twitter, Bluesky, and Instagram at BQN Podcasts. You can also follow the network and get involved in some conversations over on Discord, where most of the shows are chatting independently or all together as a network. We've also partnered with our friends at the Fandom Podcast Network, where you can find us by searching the master feed. Bit of improv there. Amy, where can people find you when you're not setting yourself up as captain of the new Star Trek show, only to be killed off at the end?
Oh, no. Well, you can find me getting back to Union Federation now that we've got NuTrek. Those episodes will be dropping. So if you want to hear my thoughts on this new season 5 of Discovery, you can find me there. I'm absolutely loving the Discord. So please come over to Discord, continue the discussion in our BQN server. I am on Twitter at Miss Amy Nelson, but my favorite place, well, I don't know. It's not my favorite place anymore. I've been saying that for so long, but we do have our Facebook group, BQN Collective, which you can find me there too. But again, transitioning over to Discord, really loving it. And Christos, where can people find you when you're not redesigning yourself each and every season?
Yeah. Hopefully, I'm not like what's his face in Insurrection, getting my face stretched. You can find me, well, let's see, BQN Collective on Facebook. You can find me in Discord, which also I am loving. And boy, we are adding new people like every day. It's great. You can find me on Instagram at Greek Geek SD or at What's the TBEV. And I am happy to say that, What's the TBEV is back. We're producing episodes, I think, on almost an every 2-week basis now, at least. And I feel like we're doing some of our best work over there right now. So really enjoying it and hope you'll give it a watch. I actually recommend that you watch the YouTube over listening to the audio. And Mark, where can people find you when you're not being collected to be part of a Klingon sarcophagus?
Ooh.
Oh, I would be the first corpse put on the ship for sure. They would adhere me to the hull. They'd be like, this guy's talking a lot of smack. We're just gonna cut him up and put him over here on the ship. So when that's not happening to me, but I'd like you on the side of the when it's not happening to me, you can find me in the BQN Collective Facebook group. And you can also listen to me over on Cinema Z with Matt Jennings of 1701 Blurred Story, where we break down some of our favorite films that are not Star Trek, but we think that our listeners should check. And Kelvin, where can people find you when you're not looking hyper masculine and sexy in your prison jumpsuit, trying to save the shuttlecraft from all of these, microscopic organisms?
When I'm not doing that, you can find me on the socials at Kelvin's Timeline or in the BQN Facebook group or over on Discord on our network channels there.
Please hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a star rating and a written review. That really does help others to find the show. You can also follow our entire network's podcast with our master feed by searching BQN.
At this time, we thank our associate producers, Mahendran Radhakrishnan and Jenediah Seastrum. Special thanks goes to Graham Kelly for our opening and closing music, and to our very own Mark White for our artwork each and every week.
That's me! If you would like to keep all of our shows coming to your YouTube and notifications, we're adding to the Hive My Facebook group. It's free. Amy's Math Moments and a lot of other network perks more coming out at the time with a monthly subscription of $5 or more. Join our meetings on the Hive Mind Roundtable second Saturday of each month. For limited time, check out Let's Watch our Discovery Roundtable episode review. Patreon.com/BQN to get all those details.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you'll join us
as we continue to search out
all good things.